it's Olivia, and welcome back to Live in Literature. Thank you so much for all the love and support I received in my last video this week, and if you have not seen it yet, do not forget to head on over to my channel to check it out.
Check me out. What?
Okay guys, it is a rainy day here in Utah where I am at, and it just is putting me in a book reading mood. But before I'm going to go and read my books that I have been
absolutely devouring
this month of June,
I'm so hungry I could eat a whole elephant.
I wanted to film a video for you guys. And today's video is all about standalone books. And you guys obviously saw this from the title. These are some of my favorite standalone books that I have read. And I have a lot of opinions about standalone books.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
So, standalone books. My thoughts on them. I love and hate standalone books.
I'm not surprised.
I love them because it's like short, quick, like all in one, like it's done, it's one and done. Like one and done, you got the whole story, it's within one book.
And then there's that part of it that feels robbed. I feel robbed reading a standalone book.
Because I'm like, there's so much more potential to have so much more. Like it just goes on and on and on for like books on end. And when I read a standalone book, sometimes at the end of the book, I am just devastated because I'm just like,
I want it to keep going. I want to know more. I want to keep seeing like how things progress and how things play out, especially in a fantasy setting. When I have a fantasy standalone novel, I'm absolutely crushed.
Crushed.
I'm just absolutely crushed by the end of it because I'm just like, I want to see what keeps happening. I want to see what keeps going. Like, what is more world building that we can do inside of this novel? So I both love them and hate them. But for you readers out there who are like not ready to commit to like 3 books or 5 books or like a series or a trilogy or whatever it is, or just don't want to commit to even a duology, standalone books are going to be the one for you. Sometimes they're quick and easy. Sometimes they're the most intricate books that you'll ever read.
That doesn't make sense.
But that's what I love about them. Sometimes they're like these really slowly, like gradually building kind of like moments that they have. And then sometimes they're so fast paced. And
Wow, what a rush. Like it's all done in one book.
And so for some of my people who might be in a reading slump these days, like I was in a couple of months ago, here are some of my standalone books that I want to recommend to you. So let's get started. Okay, the first one that I want to recommend to you is Margaret Rogerson's A Sorcery of Thorns. Now, this book came out last year, and this is a kind of like
gothic fantasy standalone novel.
And it has an amazing story, and especially if you're into kind of like that 18th century gothic moment, but also with like the fantasy action, this is going to be a book for you.
Cool. No doubt.
So, A Sorcery of Thorns is about a young girl named Elizabeth who's worked in a library her whole life, basically protecting these magical, they're called grimoires, but like you can just consider them volumes of books, like in the library that if released could be very dangerous, and some of them aren't dangerous, but like that's beside the point. And one day an act of sabotage happens and one of the grimoires gets released, and Elizabeth is convicted of that crime, and she has no one else to turn to but the sorcerer Nathaniel. And in this world, sorcerers are considered evil and that they like are bad and that they shouldn't be trusted.
A lot of nonsense of like, you're evil and I can't like you because you're evil.
But then we have a moment of like, oh wait, maybe they're not that bad at all. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
So we have the sorcerer Nathaniel, who Elizabeth teams up with to basically solve the mystery of like why the sabotage is happening and how to basically come back and recapture the grimoire that got released. And I really enjoyed this book. I remember loving it. I remember being super fast paced, really enticing characters that I wanted to follow along with. My only one thing about this book is that I wanted to know more. I wanted to go even more into detail into Nathaniel's character and Elizabeth's character and like
Their relationship and how things develop over time. And you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I get it.
that was my only critique for this book, but really overall a super fun read, really fast, very inviting. It's a great read for anyone who's just looking for something fun and something fresh in the gothic realm. Next, we have one of my 5-star reads for the year 2020, and this was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. My gosh, this is one of the greatest standalone novels that I have ever read.
Can I get an amen, fellas?
It is a fabulous book. This is a contemporary fantasy, which normally contemporary fantasy is not my thing. It is very much like it just doesn't work for me. Like I just can't like imagine fantasy things in a modern realm. But V.E. Schwab does it so right and so well in this book.
This was one of my 5-star reads for the year of 2020. It is absolutely poetic, beautifully written, deeply crafted characters that make you just like hang off of the page and want you to know more about them. It is an inviting book, and it just sucks you in from page one.
Everything's so wonderful.
It is a fabulous read. If you have not read it, you need to go and read it. This book is basically all about the young girl named Addie who in I can't remember the year, what year is it? 1714. In 1714 in France, she's basically being forced into an arranged marriage because she is a young woman of like 23 and she's in her 20s and she's unmarried.
Heaven forbid you get to your 20s and you're unmarried. You know what I'm talking about, girls?
Oh, wow! That is relatable!
Anyways, and she basically makes a deal with the dark gods, that like plague the land essentially. It's basically like wishing that she doesn't have to get married, and the wish that she makes is a little bit tricky. Basically, her wish that she wishes, she's not too careful with her words, and she ends up wishing that she will never be remembered by anyone, but that she'll live forever.
Well, this sucks.
And basically, it's a book about like self-discovery, about like, will anyone remember you if you can never like leave an impact on the world? It's a fabulous book, super poetic. If you are looking for something very unique and you are almost in a like wanderlust kind of vibe, this book made me want to like just see the world and see it all. And I admire Addie and her character. This is a fabulous book to read and I recommend it to everyone.
And I'd be like, why are you so obsessed with me?
Next we have another one of my favorite reads from the year 2020, and this book didn't come out in 2020, but it's still a great read that I read at this time. It is Adrian Young's Sky in the Deep. And this is a full fantasy. So first I've given you, with Sorcery, Thorns, it was like a gothic fantasy. The other one was a contemporary fantasy. This is a full fantasy. It is a Viking fantasy.
Which, like, yo, Vikings kind of hot though.
Are you sure?
So this book is all about a girl named Aelin who is part of a clan of Vikings called the Aska. And one day she's in battle, and as she's in battle, she sees her brother. And you're like, well, that's not that big of a deal. Yes, but her brother supposedly died like 7 years ago. And so she's like, yo, what? And so the rival clan that she's fighting, which is the Riki, her brother is with that clan, and she's trying to figure out why. And one day when they're in battle, the Riki kidnap her basically and take her with them. And she comes to this full moment of like self-discovery of like, oh, like the Aska is better than the Riki, but like really, like aren't we all just human trying to survive? And like no clan is better than the other, and we need to unite together to defeat the forces that are evil.
We love that. We love people like uniting. We love like rivalries that turn into like lifelong friendships. We love romance, a great enemies to lovers romance.
I love that sentence.
This was a super fun book, very fast paced, very well written. I really enjoyed it. And once again, similarly to Sorcery of Thorns,
I just wanted more of the development of the relationship. I just wanted more development, more of the romance, more of like the understanding of people's characters.
Overall though, a super fun read. It keeps you on your toes, very adventurous, a little bit gory, and I do kind of love that. Got some blood and gore, a lot of fighting, which I love. This is a great book to read if you're looking for something adventurous. Next, I'm going to recommend a book that I don't currently have with me, but it is still
one of the world's greatest books.
You serious?
I'm not kidding.
This is probably one of the most well-written, best books that's ever been written on planet Earth, and it is The Book Thief. Now, if you've never read The Book Thief, you need to get on that, like immediately.
Immediately?
The Book Thief is a historical fiction written in 1930. The time period is 1938.
So get your facts straight.
In 1938, a young orphan named Liesel is basically given to a new family in Germany named Hans and Rosa, and they take her in, and she basically, when the father of that family, Hans, finds out that Liesel can't read, he teaches her how amazing books are and like the wonder of having books. And this is also a time in Germany where like as she gets older, books are being burned. Any sort of like thing that isn't like quote unquote propaganda is like considered like satanic, deceitful, unholy, needs to be burned. And so throughout Liesel's life, she ends up rescuing a very few number of books. And basically, it is just like a story and a progression of like Liesel's life in this time of history. And the story gets a little bit more complicated when she's a little bit older. This family decides to harbor a young Jewish boy in their home during obviously World War II and the Holocaust.
Whoa, this is heavy.
So this is a really beautiful book. It is well descripted, very well detailed, emotional, heartbreaking. You will cry.
I'm sorry, even if you don't have a heart, you will cry. This book will make you sob.
I guess I'm just too tough to cry.
Like, I know, like, even if you don't have a heart at all or a soul, you will literally sob over this book. It is truly one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read, but also one of the most beautiful stories that is just a lot about courage and about, like, self-discovery and about acceptance of other people and beliefs and trusting your own beliefs and what you believe. And it is a fabulous novel. Everyone should go and read it. It is one of the world's greatest standalone novels.
Obama.
lastly, for my last standalone novel recommendation, okay, this isn't technically my last one, but I just have to put it out there.
Amy Harmon.
Okay, I know that everybody on this channel who watches me is probably sick of me talking about Amy Harmon, but I can't stop, okay?
Baby, I can't fight this feeling anymore.
She is literally one of the world's greatest, like, standalone novel writers. She's written tons of standalone novels in all sorts of genres that are just incredible.
Like, incredible. She's written historical fiction, fantasy, regular contemporary fiction, just like she's dabbled in so many different areas, and she has so many beautiful standalone novels. But one standalone novel that I have not recommended to you guys by her, it is a historical fiction. It is What the Wind Knows, and it is a fabulous novel. What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon is about a young woman named Anne Gallagher, or Gallagher. I'm gonna totally screw this up. I'm sorry, I do not know anything about Irish pronunciation.
I love me Lucky Charms, they're magically delicious.
Basically, Anne Gallagher is a young woman whose grandfather has just recently passed away, and she's like probably in her late 20s, early 30s. So she's more of a mature character, and so if that's not kind of your cup of tea, you're gonna want to skip over this one. Go and read some of the other Amy Harmon novels that I recommend. But I will say, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It is a beautiful novel. Basically, Anne decides to take a trip back to Ireland to scatter her grandfather's ashes and to like memorialize him and to learn more about his life.
I love that for her.
And while she's there, she kind of gets sucked into the past of Ireland in 1921 during the revolution. It's past and present, and it's all about those kinds of things. It does take place in the past and in the present, and that's one thing I really like about it, is that like you get an opportunity to go back into the past and feel more about that, feel around the time period, which I really enjoyed. And I learned so much about the Irish Revolution that I like didn't even know, which was super interesting.
That's fascinating.
So if you have not read What the Wind Knows, you need to read it immediately.
Or any of Amy Harmon's other books, like The Psalm Book of Benny Lamette and Where the Lost Wander.
And basically any of her books, because they're all literally the most fabulous things you'll ever read. So that is all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe to the Live in Literature YouTube channel. I am so grateful for you guys and all the love and support you've been giving me. If you guys have any standalone novel recommendations that I must read, please leave them down in the comments. And I'm so grateful for you guys, and thank you guys so much for joining me today. I love you the most, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.